Welcome everybody to tutorial number 10. On this tutorial we're going to add support systems for our little heat exchanger that we made. To begin, make sure you are actually on the equipment layer, or the equipment layer is your current layer, and let's get started. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to switch our view. Right now we kind of see a 3D representation of all of our objects. So under home ribbon and under visibility palette, we're going to not visibility, sorry, the view palette, the very top drop down box. Right now it should say realistic or something else, but we're going to choose the 2D wireframe. As you can see, once I selected it, it kind of turns it into 2D wireframe. It's still 3D, but just it shows you the frame and nothing more, which is helpful here. And what we're going to do, we're going to choose our top view. Go ahead and top view. One thing I forgot to mention is how did those dimensions that we chose for the heat exchanger actually meant. So here is a little window that we had last time, made of Excel. So let's start from the left side. So number one is stratospheric head. As you can see, this is this little bit here, this little bit. So the diameter was 500, perfect. And the second bit of cylinder was 500 diameter, 400 length. That's from here to here. And the next one was cylinder, it was diameter was 600, but the length was only 100. So 600 and 100, as you can see, and the next one and so forth. So that's what that represents. I thought I just mentioned that because I might have forgotten to do that. Oh, actually, also another thing I forgot to do that is that to switch our user define, make sure that our user defined coordinate system is exactly on top of this first platform. To do that, we should restrict our views first. Let's choose the grid and our heat exchanger and hide everything else. So again, to hide from home ribbon, let's go to visibility palette and click on hide others. Perfect. Okay, so let's go back to top view then. Perfect, now we can see. Okay, so one thing that I should mention here, if you were to put, let's say on an actual plant, a heat exchanger, and you need to know the supports, you would always dimension your equipment support or the equipment center point or whatever from a grid line. So you could have said, like, 600 millimeter, the center point of the support for the heat exchanger. The first one is 600 millimeter away from this grid line here, the horizontal one, and let's say and centered on the vertical one. So that's perfect, and then you would have known exactly where to put it, and you would have put your heat exchanger on top. But here we don't, so we just kind of gonna approximate a position. I kind of figured that out a little bit, so that should work. So the first thing we're going to do, under the structure ribbon, oh no, actually under the modeling ribbon, and the modeling palette, the very first one, there is a button called box, and if you hover over it, it says what it is, creates a 3D solid box. That's all we're going to do, because we don't need to actually design the support system for our heat exchanger. What we're going to do is kind of approximate what it should look like. Either the vendor or a structural engineer would supply that. So first thing it asked me to do when I click on the box is specify the first corner. But if you again go down to your command prompt, there's an option for center. Go ahead and choose center. So we're going to specify a center. So let's specify a center. I know it's going to be 4,000 for the X value, and the Y value, let's call it 3,225, and press enter. Now you see it gives you this weird little rectangle. So first it's going to ask you for the width, so we're going to call the width 125. Why not 125 millimeter? Press tab, don't press enter, press tab, and the length. So we know our diameter for our heat exchanger is 500, so let's make it 450. Okay, and then it's going to ask you for height. Okay, so before we do height, we should, okay, we know, let's make it at 1000. Perfect. Now as you can see, just because we didn't have exact location, it doesn't look so right, but like I said, you would probably do the support first and you would know the exact location on an actual design. So let's just make it look kind of approximately the same. Oh, here is an interesting problem. Now see, because my snap-ons are turned on, right? It keeps on snapping to the original button. It doesn't really let me choose another point. So to overcome this, you can also turn off your snap-ons by clicking on this little two things, or you can also do the control and left click, and you can say actually, and you can choose none. Then you can just kind of approximate it and to make it look like the bottom bit. That's all we care about. Okay, perfect. Now let's take a look. I bet you anything, AutoCAD has done something odd. It's not exactly on this position that we need it to be. Let's go back to our isometric view. Yep, exactly what I thought. Okay, so let's actually take a look at the realistic view. So to change the view again from modeling or home, under the view palette, under the first drop down, choose realistic. Now here's the problem. Okay, see, for some reason, I don't know why, sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. The AutoCAD drew my little box saying that the like the bottom was actually at the very bottom surface of our grid, which is so stupid. So fix this is very easy. Select your box, start typing move, select a reference point. We're going to select the very bottom point and then snap it onto the top one, and done. And see, this is what I want it to look like. So as if it is supporting, even though if you see that it actually goes into our object, but we don't care because this is an approximation, a model, and it's not going to be used for any sort of simulation, so that's just fine. So it kind of looks like it supports it. Now we just have to copy it to the other side. Okay, so let's switch back to our 2D wireframe. So we're gonna click on again modeling or home, and under the view palette we're gonna click back to 2D wireframe and go back to the top view again. Here, so the top view is kind of worked. I mean, you can work in whichever way you want, it doesn't matter, but I like the other view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag this little wheel here, kind of get it almost all the way to the view, and then click on top again, and then it kind of levels up, which is nice. Okay, so we're going to select our box, and we just wanted to have another one here, and we obviously we do want the support going on top of our beam, not just on our grading, because grading are not meant to take that sort of load. Okay, so let's just mirror it. You can, to mirror an object, you select the object and start typing mirror, and just select that, and it's going to ask you to first specify the first point of mirror line, and we're going to choose the midpoint of our grid line and just drop it onto the next one. And it's going to ask you erase the source object. We're going to click on no, and done. Okay, let's take a look. Let's go back to SW isometric view. Just move it a bit, and also from modeling and view palette, let's change it back to realistic. As you can see, now we have our unit. Now, one thing we need to do, these are just objects right now. There's one heat exchanger and the supports, but we want to identify the entire thing as our equipment. So go ahead and select all your equipment. So we're going to select the two supports boxes and our heat exchanger, and under home, go to on the equipment palette, go to this one. It says no, not modify, says attach equipment. So we're going to click on attach. It's going to say select a single equipment item. So select that one and select this and select this, press enter. That's it. Now as you can see, our equipment is here. Now, do we have a tag? Yep, we still have a tag. So perfect. So now you can see that our whole thing is recognized as a equipment. Perfect. So that's all for today. On the next video, we're possibly going to add some nozzles to our equipment. Let's take a look what it looks like right now. Show all. Perfect. So everybody should be at this point, and if you have any questions, shoot me an email, and see you guys next time.